I really like this shirt. My girlfriend surprised me with it. I definitely wouldn't mind having Paul Heyman as my advocate. Or if I was coming up with a shirt, it'd probably be something similar. Or maybe Eat, Sleep, Super Kick, Repeat. Or Sexy Kick, Repeat. Or The Mark Out, Repeat. So many possibilities with that. But yeah, she surprised me with this one. And a Suplex City for the city of Houston, Texas. I had told her at one point that I would, when they started coming out with the shirts, that I would definitely like one. So a lot to cover. Initially, this video was going to be mainly about Tough Enough. But then last weekend and the subsequent Monday and Wednesday broadcast for NXT and WWE respectively gave me a lot to talk about. I really wanted to talk about. A lot's been made about comparisons and such from a variety of people. Again, hats off to WWE for a lot of mainstream coverage for their big event. And I think the weekend and that week leading up and the days that followed were pretty highly successful for WWE. So you got to really, hats off to them for providing a little something for everyone in the course of 3 days for that Brooklyn crowd and all those that went to the show. So again, hats off, man. Sold out 3 shows in a row. 5, 6 tapings probably. Just really something. So what I figured I'd do, and of course they crown a couple of new superstar and a diva, or both are superstars. I'll get into that in the tail end, and then I have at least one question to answer. So sit back, relax, and before I go any further, congratulations to Rich Brennan, who was formerly part of Reality Wrestling and was doing some work with NXT, and now is the lead announcer for SmackDown, so kudos to him. Awesome. Just good news. Happy to hear about that. And happy to see him on my TV screen more than once over the course. Now, what I figured I'd do, I would talk about the NXT portion that occurred in Brooklyn, and then I would talk about SummerSlam, then a little comparison, and then, of course, Tough Enough. So, yeah, here we go. My thoughts of the Brooklyn TakeOver edition of NXT. What a show, what a crowd, very loud, very appreciative, and it was awesome. Brilliant from beginning to end. There's very little that I could criticize about the show. The show, for all intents and purposes, a perfect showcase of that brand. The possibilities, things that you would never see in WWE, or the likelihood was highly unlikely. I mean, you had Jushin Thunder Liger in the debut, like the opening contest, like wow, against a very game Tyler Breeze. I like Tyler Breeze. I love the character, the entrance, the gear, the selfie stick, everything's color coordinated. He really, the outfit alone, man, wow. His entrance is great. Again, the crowd was phenomenal. I mean, you have Triple H. I mean, this is his baby, and you could tell he's just proud, and wow, just something to behold. And I thought the contest was good, and I think Breeze loses nothing in the loss because he's losing to a legend, but he could hang with said legend. I really think he does some such subtle, nuanced stuff, and he's not the only one. A lot of people on the NXT roster, they do a great job of selling the importance of the match and selling the importance of the contest and the emotion, and you can tell from start to finish. I mean, you go from that matchup, you've got the NXT Tag Team titles, and I really have liked Blake and Murphy and Alexa. Really think they're a great package. And then you got the Vaudevillains, who I really enjoy. Another entrance I really like. The fact that when they're walking down the ramp, they're supposed to be very hyped, and you can tell they're very hyped, but no noise is coming out of their mouths because it's seemingly a silent movie. I think that's a great touch. Bringing in Blue Pants, who, I mean, a throwaway character, an enhancement character, someone to get over other talent, seemingly getting over in her own right. Just amazing. That crowd really helped matters, and I thought the right tag team went over in that because, you know, good for a change. I mean, I could understand people who would have preferred Enzo and Big Cass and Carmella maybe in that spot, but let's face it, I think Blue Pants got a great reaction. I think everybody enjoyed the Vaudevillains, and we'll get into Enzo and Big Cass and what night they had on Wednesday in a second. Cruz and Ty Dillinger. I really like Ty Dillinger. Like, no one looked like a jobber. That was the best part. Everybody looked like they had some importance. Ty Dillinger, no different. Perfect 10 versus the debuting Apollo Crews. Hadn't seen a whole lot of that guy. Was very impressed by what I saw. He looks like he's got great size as far as muscularity and whatnot. Very athletic. Yeah, man. Just another good talent to have, and really showcased himself well. But Ty Dillinger also showcased himself well as well. You then had Samoa Joe, Baron Corbin. Speak of a guy really trying to prove that he could hang with a person of Samoa Joe's caliber. I think Baron Corbin did. I think he did some very good stuff. I think his development's definitely moving in the right direction, and it was impressive to see what he and Joe could put together. And you're hoping that this isn't the last you see of these two in the ring with each other, because I think they really did some good work. It goes without saying, I think it was a nice touch for the next match, the NXT Women's title. You have Stephanie McMahon, you know, basically say this is where the revolution started, and many could argue where the pure nature of the revolution remains, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I don't know, great matchup between Sasha Banks and Bayley. I think again, the right person went over. The story was well told. Sasha's done some amazing work, and now that she's on the main roster, I mean, you could tell probably the reason why they didn't really mention the NXT Women's Championship as far as having Sasha wear it, because eventually she was going to lose it, and why bring it out. But at the same time, again, I'll go back into that in a minute, but I thought that match was amazing, highly competitive, very dramatic. They pulled out all the stops. You could really feel the importance of that match, the importance of the title. And again, I said Bayley, the right person to go over, and then the curtain call for the Four Horsewomen, in essence, kind of giving a nod to what they've done within the ranks of NXT. And probably one of the main reasons that NXT is so successful is in large part to the athleticism and the ability of the women. And man, what a great showcase for women's wrestling, or just wrestling in general. I think you could show that match to anyone and they would be highly entertained and drawn by the characters. I think the build-up was a thing of beauty. Not to be outdone, impressive ladder match between Finn Balor, the NXT champion, and Kevin Owens. Those two delivered. I think Balor's a huge star, and the sky's the limit for him, that entrance alone. But aside from that, I think he makes a great representative of the NXT brand moving forward. Crowd was hot throughout, and you know, the great thing was for Wednesday was a totally different show. I mean, you had some great highlights, some good stuff, but it wasn't like return matches. It was just a whole new set of people to be seen by that crowd, and what an 8-man to start it. I mean, you had Big Cass and Enzo, and the hype bros of Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley, and then you had you had them facing the four-man team of Dawson, Wilder, Jason Jordan, and Chad Gable. I'm a big fan of Jason Jordan and Chad Gable as a team. I'm a big fan of Wilder and Dawson as well. I think the tag team division is a really top-notch division. I'm really interested to see what they do with the Dusty Rhodes Invitational tag team tournament. Tribute. I think it's going to be just a great showcase for tag teams, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these tag teams do. 8-man did not disappoint. It was a solid effort by all guys. I think it really showcased everyone appropriately, and just a fun match. And I think that crowd, man, again, hot all the way throughout. Again, I like the sprinkling in of the highlights from that Saturday and some of the backstage stuff. I think those really tell a great story, because it's, kind of that reality, a hint of that reality that really goes behind the scenes and whatnot. And I think they're good promos, because they're different than what the tried and true promos that were prevalent in an earlier generation. The next match, Carmella and Eva Marie. Hey, it's a developmental at the end of the day, and these two need to develop. Eva gets a good reaction. I think Carmella played a great babyface, but you could tell that they're still virtually new to the business, and it's going to take a matter of time before it becomes, before it really becomes fluid for them. But I think once they figure it out, once they get it, and it's more than just about the moves and it's the character, I think you'll see some good stuff. Next, match that I really wasn't probably the weakest of the entire taping, and I hate to say that because I know both guys tried really hard. You had Elias Sampson going against Bull Dempsey, and I like the character. I don't know if I like the pandering so much, but he's trying to get a reaction, so I figured he would come in, be a little more serious. But then again, when you got Samoa Joe and you got Kevin Owens, yeah, you got to do something to kind of stand out. And I don't know. I'll give it. It hasn't grown on me just yet. I'll give it time. Then you have the four-way. Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Dana Brooke, and Emma, and I thought pretty solid matchup. Great that they main evented that next airing. Again, further proof of how the women of NXT are being presented. NXT's not afraid to put them front and center and let them main event and let them have the time and let them deliver. I mean, you think back to the NXT special, and one thing I really noticed was, they were about 2 hours in before Balor and Kevin Owens, and I didn't feel like it had been 2 hours. I mean, that show just really went at a good pace, and when you can get lost in the action and really not care about time, that's great. Now back to the four-way. Only thing seemingly was miscommunication, maybe a mistake, maybe a botch. You hate to use that, and the only reason I say that is not because of what happened after the fact. If Emma had won it, and it just so happened that she won it that way, which is not a bad way to win it, and Emma going over, I don't think is a big deal. I think that's a good move, and she can hopefully gain some momentum off of this. Hopefully they allow her to keep that momentum. But I would say, had they reacted a little differently. Now you can be in shock, but maybe had Emma actually kind of gloated a little bit, maybe gotten in Becky's face a little bit, then Becky takes exception. Maybe they go into it, and that's the way they go into the finished the finished portion of that segment. Maybe, but I don't know. It kind of lost me at that point. But kudos to Emma for winning. So yeah, I really enjoyed NXT. I mean, we're going, when they're here in Houston, we're going. Already have our tickets. Little did I know what was going to happen on Raw, but at the same time, my girl's a big fan of NXT, so we're going to go to that show, and we can still catch Night of Champions on the network. Now, SummerSlam. A controversial show. NXT seemingly you got to pay off in every matchup. There was no controversy. It was pretty straightforward. Just a great showcase. Not so much on SummerSlam. SummerSlam, totally different. A lot of controversy in various matches. And so here are my thoughts. You know, having Foley and Stewart. Foley, a big surprise. Always a pleasure to see him on my screen. Having him and Jon Stewart do a little reaction back and forth, I was cool with it. It was great to have Jon Stewart on the show and seemingly getting him for a Monday segment as well. Awesome deal. Orton Sheamus, right guy goes over, and Sheamus, I think, simply because he's the Money in the Bank winner and he needs to have some type of momentum, regardless of what type of, how he wins, as long as he does win. Because the reality is, as a heel, he's going to take advantage, like he did on SmackDown, where he got the win on Dean Ambrose when the Wyatt family disrupted that match. I don't have a problem with it, because he's a heel. I'm good with it. But again, right guy went over. I think momentum needs to be his way. Then you have the Tag Team Championship. I thought that was a very good match. I thought Orton and Sheamus was a good match. I think the crowd was really enjoying what they were seeing. You had the Tag Team Champions, Primetime Players, defending the title against the Lucha Dragons and Los Matadores, and the New Day. I love the New Day. New Day is a phenomenal, just making the most of what they're given, irregardless of how good or bad it could potentially be. They make it into gold, white and gold, much like Bayley wearing, much like Seth Rollins wearing. Like, wow, that'd be a great group. The White and Gold Patrol. I don't know, but it was great. It was great, and the right team won. Not that I'm taking anything away from the Primetime Players, because I think the Primetime Players really did a very valuable job and a good job when they had the run. And who's to say that this is the last time you see them with the titles? I think they represented themselves well as the tag team division, as well as the company, especially Titus O'Neil. But Darren Young, not to be outdone. But the Primetime Players, as entertaining as they are, they're not the New Day. And the New Day, man, I enjoyed them. Now that you have the Dudley Boys coming out on Monday and seemingly going to be around for a little while, I can't wait to see what happens next with the tag team division. And that's what you want. You want to be wanting to tune in. Rusev and Ziggler with their representative, you know, their respective females. Lana's starting to be more Americanized, kind of, you know, this is her first boyfriend that's not from her homeland, and or not from that part of the world, and I like it. I guess I'm okay with the double count outs, although you hate to see that on a pay-per-view. Why can't one of them go over? Especially since later on, of course, through the help of Big Show knocking out Rusev, Ziggler on SmackDown would get a pin. He would get a pinfall win in a tag team match and against Rusev. So there's that. So you think it's going to continue. I think having Lana and Summer, their interaction, that seems to be getting really great reaction. And at least they're protecting Ziggler, and he's not losing outright. And of course, they're keeping Rusev in, you know, he's doing fairly well. The Arrows versus the Lords of Darkness. I think that was their names. The Cosmic King Barrett, who is back in England, I guess. He's going to be gone for a little while. I'm not sure particularly why, but you hope he's back at some point. I was really starting to enjoy the Cosmic King. Really enjoying the Stardust character. I think Stephen Amell did adequate. I think he did fairly decently. Who's to say how long he's been training to do this? So, yeah, I think he did well. I think the right team went over. The heroes have to always vanquish the foes. That's what foes are there for, to be vanquished. IC title match. It is what it is. Ryback, it's great for him to go over because he was trying to gain some momentum with with the IC strap. I wouldn't have had a problem with Big Show winning it because it would have proved everybody wrong, and or The Miz. And at one point I thought The Miz was actually going to win it, so they did a great job. Reigns and Ambrose versus the Wyatt family. I mean, after you watch Raw and you watch this big Braun Strowman show up, this mountain of a dude that's just manhandling Roman Reigns and Ambrose, a big difference. 24 hours makes. So you can see why Reigns and Ambrose would have gone over, and they all put on a hell of a show. And I'm intrigued by the new guy, part of the Wyatt family. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. But I wasn't that intrigued with that match because I knew it was just the next chapter. There was not going to be definitive, but at least they had a definitive winner in that one. So yeah. Now, one of the, I mean, the double count out, that's kind of bummed. This one, title for title, John Cena doing some impressive work against Seth Rollins, the champion. People have are opinionated about Seth Rollins. I like him as champion. I like his run. I think he's doing the heelish thing. Been highly successful through nefarious means. He can run away because you don't want him to run away. He's going to do what you don't want him to do. He's a heel. That's what heels do. He's supposed to be booed. If he did everything and faced people the right way, he would be a baby face. And there'll come a time, right now he's not supposed to be, and he's doing really well. And the fact that he went over on John Cena at SummerSlam, the place, the event where John just doesn't seem to have any luck. He loses all the time on SummerSlam. So here's the thing. If I'm ever facing John Cena, I'm facing him at SummerSlam because he can't seem to get it done. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Now, Jon Stewart, people can criticize that. I had no problem with it because it got media coverage. That one got you media coverage, and you needed that. And really, what's the problem with... I don't think people would have... I don't think there was one outcome where you'd get 100% approval across the board from everyone that would say, I loved that. No. John Cena goes over clean. No, we don't want to see that. Seth Rollins goes over clean. No, we don't want to see that. So, I was fine with it. I'm really looking forward to him and Sting. I'm really curious. I'm really curious if he's going to defend the title twice, and he's going to have to face John Cena, who got some comeuppance, against Jon Stewart. Oh, wow, that was something. I wasn't expecting that. Ric Flair and the thing and the justification. It was valid justification. Yeah. I was fine with it. I'm fine with Rollins as champion and what he's doing currently. I'm good with it. And then, so I was fine so far with the show. No problems. But here's the next match. The and it's controversial for an entirely different reason. You had the Bellas, Team Bella against Team Bad against Team PCB. And the crowd really wants to see Sasha. And I think Sasha was probably playing hurt. She was probably hurt. And really it wasn't about... At that point, it was about vanquishing the Bellas. That was the way I looked at the story coming into it. I can understand what people are saying, and I'll get into the presentation in a minute. But I thought the right team went over. I thought the right person went over. I thought it should have come down to the Bellas and Team PCB because the Bellas are kind of the de facto. They're the tweeners. But you want them... You want PCB to be the last team against the Bellas because... You want to see PCB vanquish the Bellas. And that's what you got. So I'm fine with it. I'm thinking it's a slow burn. I'm hoping it is. But I warned a lot of people that, look, this is what WWE is going to do with the Divas Championship. They're going to kind of misdirect all of us by having this influx of new talent, but have these teams so that Nikki doesn't have to defend the title all the time. So she can continue to rack up days as champion. Now, who's to say that a couple weeks from now, when it's the day before she breaks the record, or 2 days before she breaks the record, that she doesn't lose it? She's bringing up the whole point. Now, you get the night after, and that segment didn't go over as great because they want to maintain their camaraderie, but they want I think WWE wants them to start to be competitive about the title, but it just became very discombobulated during the Miz segment. Again, Sasha's hurt, and they don't even show her, I don't believe. So again, it should have been about the Bellas and PCB. They're the ones who had they're the ones who had the problem. Now, you could have thrown in Team Bad, but at this point, let Team Bad do what they do. They'll come back at some point. Now, I could have expected something during the Miz segment to have Stephanie McMahon come out and kind of tell Nikki that she's got to defend her title, and she's going to have to defend her title against each member of PCB, but maybe they don't want to do that because they don't want to potentially have to have Nikki go over in all three. So maybe they do something next week that leads to the following week. It's very possible. I think the women had a better showing on SmackDown, but I do understand people's concerns about how it's being presented, and obviously it is different than what it is at NXT. NXT was an organic build, and these women just became competitive, and they were given time, and then they were given trust, and then they were given more time and more spot and more of an importance, and they created that title and made it important. Divas Championship is, in essence, it belongs on Nikki because she's, part of Total Divas, and you've got all that, so you've got to work within it. But I think right now they have the teams, and hopefully shortly, in the very short, near future, they change their, I don't know, like, ultimately, whoever gets it after Nikki will probably be the person to be like, I will defend this against everyone and all comers, and I'll defend it every week or something like that, and then it'll become this competitive title that may flip hands a few times because it'll be such a competitive thing, and you'll have like 9, 10, 12 women trying to all vie for it. You could do that because there are some, like Emma, who could come in, or Bayley because she's the NXT champion, or, Natalya, just to name a few. But, I don't know. Give it some time. I think give it some time. Now, if the fans are disenchanted by what's being given, understand that while booing is your right, at the same time, that the naysayers of the revolution could do one of two things. Go, well, see, they're not getting over. Or go, okay, well, let's panic and we'll push the trigger faster. But we got a couple weeks. A lot of things could happen. And Nikki did make a valid point. Wins and losses in multi-team matchups are not of no importance, simply because it's not about the title. So, with her saying that, hopefully this Monday, Stephanie comes out and goes, hey, you did say it's all about the title, so let's do something. So, we'll see. That match was followed by a great matchup between Owens and Cesaro, and I think both guys are where they need to be. I thought the right guy went over in Owens. So yeah, I mean, I like those two, and I think especially Cesaro finally getting some momentum as a singles competitor, and my hope is that they continue down the path. He's getting t-shirts and stuff. I think the Cesaro, the professional, I think that's a good shirt. I like how he's presenting himself on television with the suits and such. Man, about time, about time. I think he's found his voice, and I think it's working. He's connecting. And finally, the controversy. Timekeepers, bell ringers, submissions, low blows. middle fingers. It had everything. Paul Heyman, a guy who I would love to be my advocate, but I thought the finish was great. And here's why. Here's why. Because it's going to build to the rubber match. Now, maybe they pull the trigger faster. Maybe they say, January, this is what we're doing. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know. That's the beauty. I don't know where they're going with this. Now, I know they're going to have a rubber match. You want to keep both guys strong. You want to keep both guys, you know, you want to make Brock the de facto babyface of it, and you want to make Undertaker kind of the de facto heel to some degree because he's got something to prove and he will go to whatever lengths to get the win. I was fine with that. I was fine with the match. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't mind the controversy. I think it's fine. I think you have to have the replay. You have to have them talking about it. You have to have Brock not lose any steam, and he's not going to. Now, when will he be back? We'll find out, because it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. Here's the thing. For those that want to do the comparisons. Now, look, to NXT, NXT is, they don't have to worry. To an extent, they got nothing to lose. They're a new company for the most part. And I think they don't have to worry about rematches. They don't have to worry about the night after and what they're going to put forth. They can kind of let everything with time. They have the right amount of people. You know, WWE, they have their formula. They've been doing this a long time. They've been doing it the same way for a while. So, you know, sometimes the rematches, you know, a SummerSlam rematch the day after, I can see where it can kind of drain on people, but at the same time, I think they still deliver every time they're out there, and I'm eager to see it. I thought the NXT TakeOver show was better because it was just seemingly more exciting and flowed a little bit better, but they didn't run nearly as long as WWE. So, I don't know, man. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan. Now, let's talk about what was going to be the main topic of this, and that is Tough Enough. Tough Enough. Tough Enough, Tough Enough, Tough Enough. Sorry, water break. Tough Enough. Now, I think I've seen almost every season of Tough Enough. Every kind of way they presented it. So, when they announced that they were bringing it back and that anyone could apply, and this, your 30-second video, I didn't really consider even putting one out. I really didn't think that they would want a wrestler in that program. I always assume with Tough Enough it is all about what the mainstream's views of it would be, and how to get a mainstream audience. You get a bunch of people that are not wrestlers to begin with. I mean, they have done something similar. It was called NXT before it's what it is now, but back first few seasons was all wrestlers. I don't know. Like, I always try to stay positive with the stuff that's out there. I just think, give it a chance. But again, I wasn't thinking, oh, well, I should apply. Again, I always think I've got, they're more like doubts about me trying to do that. But I thought anyone should apply. You never know what's going to happen. I really enjoyed the special leading up to it, where they got down to the 40, and where you saw what they were kind of looking for, and more importantly, saw like that tryout, what the tryout was going to be. I thought it was really interesting. And when they got their final 13, I was surprised by some of the eliminations that they made. Some of the guys that were wrestlers that I'd seen, and then it was like, well, why would they? Okay. Now, I could be like a lot of my friends and say, oh, they should have gotten wrestlers. Now, you know, like me, I would have probably tried to do something along the lines of Ultimate Fighter meets American Idol, or like something along the lines of what they had. Maybe have a couple of coaches. You have maybe some teams of some sort. I don't know. But something like Ultimate Fighter meets American Idol, where every week it would be two people matching up, and then they would get critiqued. They'd have a promo, so on and so forth. You'd have a little bit of build-up of who's going to get a chance to showcase themselves, and they've got to do these training exercises. You could have probably done that, like them training and seen more of like that stuff. But now the network's doing like a Hard Knocks inspired type of thing, and they're doing like an NXT 24. You don't know if that's going to be a series or just a show, or if the Breaking Proving Ground, I think that's the name of the show, but it's going to be on the network, if that's going to be, you know, the Hard Knocks inspired one. But so I can understand people's views of having it be a bunch of wrestlers. And again, you could have had judges and ultimately a host and all that, and you could have done that and had them have matches, and then you could see what they bring to the table. And again, it would have probably worked the same to some degree, and you'd probably have the people, live people, but they did what they did. Now, you know, like in Jericho's the host, Renee Young is the host. I'm cool with that. Both of them, they played well off each other as the season progressed. You know, early on having Hogan and Paige and Dan O'Brien, it worked to an extent, but everybody was trying to be nice, and Paige was the de facto, you know, rough one of the group. Whereas once Miz became one of the judges, I think he really added something to the show, and I heard his stuff with Tough Talk was really something to behold. But I like that dynamic better. The coaches, really, I have a lot of respect for Booker, of course, and Lita and Billy, and I think they did a really good job. I don't know, like, I liked the live element. I liked the voting. I think that's just how it is. It is going to be a popularity contest, and it's going to be difficult to portray people that are, I don't know, like Josh at some point, you know, it could seem, you know, it could seem like, I don't know, it's all about editing and how they come across. I thought some of them would end up getting contracts, like Gigi. I think she'd probably end up getting a contract. I think Amanda will end up getting a contract. I thought if Josh did win and ZZ won in a popularity type of thing, that that Josh would still get a contract. I think Patrick would get a contract, or Mata would get a contract. I think those really, out of everyone, they stood out. I don't know, like, as far as the last matches go, I personally thought Sarah Lee performed better. I thought Amanda looked the part. Although being called Mandy Rose, I don't know if that works because you have an Adam Rose. Sarah didn't do herself any favors by looking kind of half like a Twin Peaks waitress. I didn't really point that out. My girlfriend pointed that out as we're watching it. But the crowd got more behind her because she's kind of the underdog, the ultimate underdog. She connects with the people. That's why she kept being saved, and I think that played into her hands. I think she did a pretty decent job being a sympathetic babyface. Obviously, everyone's gear wasn't great. Amanda's was probably the best of the bunch. It was odd seeing them without knee pads or elbow pads or proper boots, or just proper gear to some extent. Again, kind of, you're trying to be bigger than life and a superstar and all that. But I thought Sarah Lee winning great because, hey, she's popular and she connects, and that's what they need. And hopefully she takes the opportunity she's given and performs to the best of her ability. And I think Josh was the rightful person to win on the guy's side. He has the look. I thought he was going to get a contract either way. I thought ZZ would win it, and then immediately, not immediately, but maybe when he, at some point, he turns and he joins the Wyatt family, just because, like, ultimate heel turn if he had done that. I don't know. I thought Josh, out of the two, Josh and Cesaro's, that was probably the best match. And I thought Josh was, man, he's solid, man. Solid. So, yeah, I think that's it, man. I think that's... Well, hold on. I do have a question. I forgot. My buddy Christopher sent me the following... I had it. One moment. Here we go. So, Christopher asked me, I got a couple. I asked this before, but not sure if you've seen and addressed it, but if you were a talent scout for ROW, who would you go and recruit from the rosters of the promotions you worked for in the last 3 years? Good question. So, we'll cover that one first. Actually, yeah, we'll cover that one first. Now, over the last 3 years, I've worked for TASW. A lot of the talent that I would have picked from there are already part of ROW. Maybe Estrella Galactica. I like him. I think he's got a great upside, a great, like, television title contender. Yeah, man, I think he would work. You know, maybe give him a mouthpiece just so that he can be focused as a talent. I think Hurricane Pro. Huh. I would say AJ Rush. He's one of the guys. I think he's got a tremendous upside. CWF. Huh. Well, this is kind of cheating. Jessica James. She works for them. I would probably say her. Because we got to have some women there. I like Jordan Jensen. I think maybe, you know, he'd probably be a little more polished as far as just how he's presented. But yeah, I mean, I've talked about that in my last video, so go check that one out. But I mean, I mentioned like Tim Storm and Barbie and Houston and of course Jessica James. I mentioned Claudia, but I think her last match is the first week of September. And there's some that I haven't had a chance to see that I would like to see. I like Ricky Starks. I think he would be probably a solid addition, or a Matthew Palmer, or a Gregory James. I mean, I've mentioned some of these guys before. There's probably others. I'm probably forgetting a few. But again, it's about how you're presented and television time and how you stand out from everybody else. I mean, there's some other guys, Keith Lee, to name a few. So hopefully that helps. So the next one is, and in the RW, we've seen a couple of cage matches, a couple of best of 5, and a dark match, but not a street fight or hardcore match. Is it because they tend to get too brutal and out of hand, or is it there hasn't been a feud built up enough to properly use this type of match? Now, Christopher, I want to say last year, Ryan Davidson and the Pride actually battled one another in a street fight of some sort. I know there were weapons being used. I think some of the build-up, speaking of said dark match, I think Gustavo and Rex had some hardcore elements. I want to say it really boils down to a couple things. Really, there hasn't been a blood feud that would lead to that. Even like Rex and Gustavo, at the end of the day, they wanted to see who the better man was without the use of weapons or a lot of weapons. Some guys have used weapons, but I think there's never really been like a blood feud that built to that. And for reality wrestling, I believe that it's more important to tell a great story than to have a hardcore street fight just for the sake of having it. But again, I don't think there's a feud out there realistically that builds to that or has built to that. Now that can change in the very near future, but we shall see. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm always down to answer questions. What more could I say? But this. My next video, I'm really unsure what my next video is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to talk about social media or the fact that I'm very close to beating Arkham Knight. I am on the cusp of beating that. I've got to beat some of the most wanted stuff, but I think I've gone through the story for the most part. I know once you get there, without spoilers, you get to a point you can't really, you're no longer Batman, and I want to be Batman a little bit longer. I've played a little Destiny. Not bad. I don't know. Like, I like playing Arkham Knight way more. I just think that's a great game. But, trying to think. Read some of Flashpoint. I've been trying to catch up on that. The Flashpoint saga. And I really like their take on the Batman-Joker dynamic there. I've posted something on Instagram about that, so, yep. Reality Wrestling, soon to be on the CW 39 here in Houston, but it could lead to bigger and better things. I mean, by bigger and better things, just more markets seeing it. Of course, it'll probably still air on YouTube, but go to realitywrestling.com for details. I'm sure we'll have a big party when we have the grand opening of the new facility. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. I know anyone who was part of PWA is just beside themselves because this is what we've all wanted since probably joining PWA all those years ago. And man, just to have a facility that you can run shows out of, potentially doing more house, you know, like house or road shows, being on the CW, I think it's just a great time in reality wrestling. So yeah, man, I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have. If you do see this shirt, yay! Also, well, you know what? I'll talk about that as we get closer. But I know September 17th we will be at NXT. So if you're around and you see me, don't mind coming by and saying hi. We're going to be enjoying the show as much as you are. Again, September 12th, the next Reality Wrestling television taping, and a big one because it's going to air on the CW. So you gotta, if you want to be a part of that show, you need to come check it out. I think that's it. You know, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate any feedback that I get. I appreciate questions. Hit me up. If I get a few more followers on Periscope, I will try to do a Q&A. I'll announce when I do that. I don't think I'll be dancing around or anything like that. It'll probably be just like a Q&A, live Q&A, or maybe like, hey, let's watch. I'm going to watch this show. Watch it with me, and maybe we'll start with like a 30-minute show first, like the latest Rick and Morty or something else. I don't know. I don't know. I will be giving it some thought. If you guys have any topics you want me to talk about, let me know, because I'm always down to talk about whatever. So as I always like to end these, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. But if you live by the motto that eat, sleep, promo, repeat, or if you are a fan of Suplex City, or you're a fan of Seth Rollins in the white gear, I was, or if you really believe that the Divas Revolution is going to continue and be a strong thing, and by 6 months from now we're going to be singing its praises, or if you're just a fan in general and just love life and enjoying the journey, then you already are. Until the next time, later!